Anna Asisa has lived in this darkened one-room shack for the past 20 years. On this particular day, she tells me she has been ill for the past few days and, unable to go out and find work, has not had a meal all day. All across Kenya's myriad informal settlements, Asisa's story is replicated. And now the United Nations projects that in less than 20 years, this will be life for millions of Africa's city dwellers. Africa is experiencing an unprecedented wave of urban growth, now threatening the world with disaster unless its leaders adopt a radical rethink.
African cities generally have emerged as very unequal. Why shouldn't you have a crisis meeting of the cabinet? That is an emergency. When 90% of your people are living in slums, if you ask me, you have a situation which for me is an emergency.
Every week, about 3 million of Africa's impoverished flock the continent's urban centers, hounded out of their rural homes by poverty. According to the United Nations, the urban age has finally arrived in Africa, and with it, cities littered with poverty, slums and informal settlements.
The problem in Kenya is that the government tried to wish this problem away. As you know, right now it is admitted that 60% of the population of Nairobi live in slums. Unless something is done about it, we will continue to live in this kind of informal settlements.
Alarmingly, the UN says issues around informal settlements remain politicized during election years and forgotten as soon as the ballot count is complete. Lack of a land and planning policy, unrealistic regulations and lack of public infrastructure are also said to be obstacles to reducing slum growth.
We are dealing with problems of yesterday's neglect, the problems that have accumulated for the last 30 years.
The West has reacted to the urban challenge by expanding its cities to cope with the rising urban populace. But Africa remains a concern for world leaders, its slum population already at crisis proportions. Today, 1 out of every 3 people living in Africa's cities lives in a slum. And so each year, the world's leaders gather to find a solution to the challenges of urbanization. Africa's leaders have been forewarned. And the next 10 years will tell whether the continent's political elite care enough to find a solution for its growing impoverished urban population. According to UN statistics, in just about 20 years, the number of African populations residing in urban areas will be higher than those in the entire Western Hemisphere. Projections indicate that unless African governments begin addressing this, the end result could potentially be catastrophic. Beatrice Marshall, KTN, Nanjing, China.